podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
This is the Ospreys Diary.
Hello again and welcome to the Ospreys Diary. Hello again, Grant and Jack. Jack, really glad that we didn't frighten you off. I'm glad you've joined us again. So very well welcome again. Are you both okay?
All good. Yeah, all good.
Yeah, doing well.
Apologies tonight from Zach and Josh who couldn't make it. So hopefully they'll be back soon. And allow me to take a little bit more of a back seat on this one because obviously I'm just going to pop in now and again. Give my 2 pennies worth on this one, but obviously I'm going to still be involved in some of the other rap family. Okay, so this evening we'll have to get the elephant out of the room and we'll have to talk about Saturday and another loss in a European quarter-final. I was just fated to never to go any further in the European competition and actually get to a semi-final. We'll, of course, look ahead to Judgement Day on Saturday in the Principality. Just remind you, if you haven't got your ticket already, please get yourself down there. All your support will be very much appreciated. And if you are around Cardiff on Saturday, please pop into the Supporters Club, Osprey Supporters Club, meeting up in the Bluebell.
Yeah.
Just down the road, the Rap family, myself included, will also be calling in the City Arms, that area, for the drink. So if you're around, please come and say hello to us. But you're not taking the normal mode of transport, a train, a car, a bus, Grant, to Cardiff. Can you please tell us a little bit more how you're getting to the Judgement Day?
Another Right to Rugby event. Luckily, this one's a lot shorter than the last two. So just jumping on a bike at the Liberty Stadium, Liberty Stadium, the Swansea.com.
Still a Liberty Stadium for me.
Yeah, we setting off from Swansea at 8 o'clock in the morning and stopping off in Porthcawl for a quick refill in terms of a bit of energy and a few fluids, and then aiming to get into Cardiff, into Sapphire Gardens around 12:30, 1 o'clock. Pack the bikes away, quick shower and change, and then I'll try and catch up with people wherever they might be, whether it's the Bluebell or the City Arms, or potentially the time I'm getting there, I'll be going straight into the game. So it's another opportunity to raise a little bit more money for Ospreys in the community. So there's 40.
It's a very worthy charity, and hope you're very successful. And I hope the weather's fairly kind to you as well. The forecast isn't quite as good as it was the last couple of weeks ago, but there we are.
The forecast doesn't look good, but it's still far better than it was when we cycled from Amsterdam to Paris.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll start with some news, and we'll start with some good news. 3 times Welsh international Rhys Davies, 26, product of Pencloud RFC, with over now 70 appearances. The Ospreys has re-signed. Fortunately, he went off injured late in the second half on Saturday, and he's had some bad luck with injuries. But how are you feeling about Rhys Davies re-signing, boys?
It's really good news. The fact that you look, he hit the ground running again, didn't he? Almost immediately in terms of form, in terms of that level of aggression. It's great news for the Ospreys. He's definitely one for the long term. You know, as probably our first at some point. I know we've got a lot of competition there, but he's one of our first choices, I think, now.
Jack, impressed? Have you been impressed with Rhys over the years?
Yeah, he's been brilliant, hasn't he? And as you said, to come back and hit the ground running like he did was very, very impressive, and it shows the mark of a good player. You know, he's a big man. He's aggressive. He likes to, you know, get involved and carry the ball, and also, you know, he's there. So I think it is a very good signing, and I think, you know, he'll add to those 3 caps, you know, over the years for sure. I think it's a really good signing, and to get him back on board, and looking forward to seeing how he develops and goes on into the future as well.
Indeed. Some less good news, and this is obviously there's been a very strong rumour, even that the BBC Wales online have sort of supported this rumour, and that Ross Moriarty is supposed to be signed for us. Unfortunately, Ross has had injury issues this year. Has only recently come back from a long-term leg injury, I think. and played his first game back for Bree, but only lasted, I think, less than 20 minutes and picked up a shoulder injury. Apparently, it doesn't need an operation, but obviously it's bad luck, and obviously we'll hopefully hear more about his contract situation in the near future. But we wish Ross obviously all the very best and hope that he is back on the rugby field very, very soon, wherever that may be. Uh, Talking about sort of potential signings and so on and finances, you probably heard, like I did, that Wales Online are reporting that the chairman of the WRU, Richard Collier-Keywood, has written to Ospreys, Scarlets and Dragons, obviously with the ongoing situation and the WRU buying out the Cardiff club, and the PRA, which was almost over the line from what I could understand, but has given a deadline of this evening. And we're recording this on Tuesday evening. That deadline might have passed. Do you think it's something that we as Ospreys and obviously the club should be signing? Do you think we have those reassurances that we need?
I think
From what I've seen, okay, that again in that Wales Online article, the clubs haven't received the final draft. So I think unless how can you say you're definitely going to sign up to it until you're looking at the final version in terms of what you're signing as a starting point? I'd like to think that we can get things over the line as long as there's no compromises being made just to get over the line with a forced date. It still needs to be right, doesn't it?
Yeah, I feel the same way. And also when you look at like what's happening with Cardiff and guarantees of funding and how that's going to impact things, they haven't exactly had a lot of time to consider, the changes and so on. I think I was reading somewhere that they have already asked, to know what the buyout at Cardiff does to the other regions' fundings. I think they've all written to them now. So until, you can't throw something like that into the mix and then be like, sign this in the next 3 days. It's not really fair. I think it's probably a little bit of like trying to get it done as soon as possible because they need to be seen to be doing something to an extent. And that might be a negative way of looking at it, but it did feel a bit like bully boy almost. Right, we've bought Cardiff out, now get this signed. It's like that's not really right. So until the clubs know exactly what's going on and have had a proper copy of it and so on, I think it's fair for them to say, well, we're not signing anything. Just like any of us would probably not sign anything without having proper details of them.
Yeah.
So,
That's it, though. Yeah, by the time this goes out, okay, we might have found out the news that we have signed.
yeah, true.
But
yeah, so
I suppose in fairness, what we don't know is, the regular meetings that Lance has been having with the WRU. Maybe these type of things have been discussed, because one thing that's come out of the Cardiff situation is that the WRU have stepped in, which I support and agree with, but they've done this over a period of months to get to this position where last week where they bought the club and will support the club for 18 months. So I'm sure these type of issues will have been raised by Lance and the other CEOs and the other and obviously the benefactors as well. So it'll be interesting to see what plays out over the next few days. Okay, can't avoid it any longer. Unfortunately, we had a fantastic opportunity on Saturday with a home quarter final against a French team, a good French team. We thought we would get over the line when we did this last week. I think we predicted a close game, so we were right in that respect. But we weren't quite good enough on the day. So, Jack, what's the view from the Netherlands on this one?
Well, I think we all forgot last week that the Ospreys, we just don't like winning quarterfinal European matches, do we?
No.
Seems to be a recurring theme. Well, it is a recurring theme, but I thought that looked a little bit fatigued. Actually, I thought they looked a bit tired. There was a lot of passes that were going just behind, and you could see what the intention was early doors. I think there was a passage of play where Jack Morgan just tried to pass the ball out to Cassendon, and he was just a little bit behind them. And if it got there, then he would have created a gap. And that was kind of the theme throughout kind of the first half. And then eventually it became a game of attrition because the passes weren't going anywhere. I think that Leon, did a really, really good job in terms of defensively. They really kind of squeezed us and made a mess of the breakdown. And then it became a game where you had, Kieran Williams, Jack Morgan trucking it up, trying to create meters. And they were, to be fair, they were exceptional. But at the end of it, it just wasn't quite enough. And Leon, just did a really professional job in the end. I think that, that was basically the story of the day, really. And then you had I think maybe Tipperick going off as well. It was a big, big loss. He had so much class still that you can't help but think he's been in those games as well. That was the experience that maybe could have been like, right, we need to play for territory now. Let's kick the ball a bit more. And you lose that as well, and that experience. And then, it ended up the way it did. It was very disappointing in the end, actually. I thought that I really did think that against that Leon team, they had a big chance, but it just wasn't to be for the 8th time, is it, or 9th time now? I can't.
And it would have turned, as it turned out, not that we knew at the time, would have ended up, if had we won, we'd have had a home semi as well, wouldn't we? With Connacht losing at home. France, how did you see it from your seat?
No matter how disappointed we are, when you saw Derry Lake and Dan Cassenda in the Riverside afterwards, you got to feel for the players. Okay, the build up to that game, there was a great opportunity, and it's almost like, I won't say they let themselves down, but they did look jaded, and things have flowed so well for so long, and then to see us struggle to flow properly. And it was plenty of one-up trucking the ball straight through the middle, and Jack and Keith in particular were really good at it. Okay, but we really struggled for the hard yards, and when we did try and go deep and spread the ball, we just looked like we were losing our shape really early. It's really disappointing when it's the same backline who've been like carving people apart for the last couple of months. So but disappointing. And again, should I be used to it? No, we shouldn't really. We shouldn't get too used to this, because we can play some great rugby. It's just the timing, isn't it? It's just really hard to put in a performance like that.
Obviously, I always think Mark Jones speaks very well, and obviously he would have been emotional afterwards. Did you catch his interview when he was talking about game management and tactics and so on? What were you sort of how did you feel about what he said, and you think that was a fair reflection of the game, and could we have done anything different?
Well, he's talking about moving the big French pack around the pitch, and we might have tried it, but I don't think we were that effective in terms of the way we executed it. When it's one up run after one up runner, then it's like, you're absorbing the French pack, but they're a big bunch of boys, and the guys they brought in the second half were bigger, and I think the game started turning when our scrum dominance might not have been rewarded as well as it could have been in the first half, but that was sort of negated in the second half when they brought on some tanks into the pack. So I didn't feel like we were that effective to executing that game plan this week.
Jack, what did you think when you sort of saw their team, our team, the bench, and how we use the bench?
Yeah, it's the 6-2 split, isn't it? And I think that we were speaking beforehand about how in Wales we don't seem to want a 6-2 split. And if we already, there was that period just before the second half and just after the second half where you felt like we really needed to get something in those moments because we threw everything at it. And to not get anything from that, and then to see, these massive blokes come on again, it's going to be such like a mentally draining kind of like, okay, here we go. And they were bringing on French internationals. 3 caps played at the Aviva, in a game where they took Ireland apart. I mean, you're seeing that and bringing that experience on, and then it's it becomes very, very difficult, I would say, particularly if you don't have the physicality to match that, and you're not moving around their pack as well as you were, or well as you could, then yeah, and I think they just squeezed us out in the end. But I think that, to be positive about it, I think this will be a learning curve for everybody. I think that, like, actually, this is an experience again of like your game management and what can you do in these situations, and they should, as a team, learn from this, and it'll be an experience that they can look back on and reflect on and come back better next time they experience this. So I don't want to be too down, because it actually, played some really good rugby this year, and didn't quite work on the weekend, but it was almost there, it was almost clicking, and they will probably, learn from this experience and kind of how to handle it next time they're in that situation. I think, yeah, that's kind of.
Well, it was still a very close game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think what we're saying, I don't think we're being unkind. I think we'd be saying that, if we'd just got over them at a penalty to win it, I think we would still be saying, well, we didn't quite execute as well as we could. We were a little bit naive at times, and that we didn't perhaps put the ball behind them a little bit more, put it up in the air a little bit more, especially when it got very tight in the sort of at times. So hopefully those are things we can learn from. Obviously, Tipuric, especially where Tipuric is in his career, it was very sad seeing him going off, and I do think that made a difference. Him going off after 7 minutes, I think that made a big difference. If you could have kept, and usually when he normally plays for 80, doesn't he? And I think having that, as Grant said, having that sort of experience and that sort of situation was just the way it goes. And I just hope, as we've alluded to, Rhys Davis' injury is not too bad, and Beard as well is not too bad as well. Although Mark seemed to indicate that none of those three will be available for Saturday when we come to talk about that. I suppose we have to mention the attendance. I must say I was very disappointed with the attendance, and I don't quite know what the answer is, really. I have a feeling that people don't like going to St Helens, but we have got too many armchair supporters. I think that's a fair criticism. I think next year moving to St Helens, I was looking at some attendances over the last couple of years, and whilst we've never had a long time, 8,000 average for the season, we were even 2 years ago getting sort of 6,500 average. And so we've got 1,500 people who used to come down regularly who aren't coming. And I think our first target is getting those back down to St Helens next year, and then we can look to build from there. Grant, you've got the answer to this very simple problem?
No. There's lots of people in West Swansea who currently don't come and watch the Ospreys, or might have come in the past and then fallen out the love with it, who are saying, yeah, I'll come down to St Helens. And there's lots of people saying they'll do that. We're just going to make sure that we don't lose what we've got now.
Yeah.
We need to build on what we've got now and then encourage more. And
yeah,
hopefully people will come. But I'm not quite sure what more the Ospreys are supposed to do in terms of how they promote themselves and what they do. And it's just, it almost feels like we've got armchair critics and not armchair supporters. And it's a lot harder to get a critic to turn up for a game than a supporter who just wants to go, yeah, I fancy going to the game. There's plenty of people who will comment on how we perform, etc. But yeah, turn up and watch the boys is all you can say. Like, just do it. Just get up and turn.
Do you think maybe having a terrace might? Our prices aren't extortionate by any. They're comparative with the other teams, Welsh teams. But I suppose a cheaper option, a more, I don't know if that's the experience you want. Might we're the only current regional club who hasn't got a terrace, aren't we?
Yeah.
So maybe that might help at St Helens as well, for people, who obviously the economic situation is not a cheap do, is it, going to watch a rugby match?
No, we're not. We think the price is going to be the same or similar, not necessarily the same next season. But I'm sitting in the lower stand. I've got a season ticket, okay, for £140 a year. It's an absolute bargain to sit where I'm sitting. Yeah. I'd quite happily pay exactly the same amount to go and stand on the terrace down in St Helens. I've got no objection to, in terms of value for money. And in fact, I'm not sitting down for a ticket that price. I'll quite happily stand up. So it is really good value, season ticket.
Absolutely. And I think that, I don't know what our figures is, but I know when Lance has spoken, he feels that we've got more names down, provided everybody who's currently a season ticket holder continues next year. We've got new, like I'm an example, for instance, where I did have a season ticket, but I have persuaded my partner and a son. They've got to have very regular visitors down to Swansea next year. So I suppose that's the type of thing we were hoping to do. Jack, obviously you live a long way away. You get home as much as you can. Have you got any ideas how the Ospreys can improve their attendance?
I think I don't think it's a marketing problem. I don't think particularly it's a uniquely Ospreys problem. I think that actually, like, I know we get less attendance than the other regions, but I think that the move to St Helens is a good thing because it also taps into this like romantic kind of attitude people have towards like the good old days of the Welsh Premiership, like and I think that would be nice and standing on terrace as well, having a few pints. I think just improving that kind of match day experience will be a big thing, and I don't think you can do that at the Swansea.com. Be careful not to call delivery that I wanted to. Because it's a big stadium, it's all seated, everyone's kind of scattered around, but getting 3,000 attendance for a European quarterfinal, it's not great. And I don't want to blame pure, like, I know a lot of people want to blame like the marketing team as well. I don't want to make excuses, but I also think it says where the competition is.
Yeah, I think
like the competition itself as well. It's actually damning of the competition and the new structure of the competition. But I think that going into next season, new stadium, winning rugby, down by the beach there. If that doesn't improve attendance, I don't know.
We have concerns then, don't we? We're still
exactly.
we're still having this conversation in 12 months' time.
Yeah. So I think the stadium itself, the start of the season probably didn't go so well either. I think that if you can change the stadium, which we're doing, and we're playing a really exciting brand of rugby with a lot of young players, I think that should be enough, really. And if it's not, then we're still in this conversation next season. Then it would truly be like I don't really know where to go from there.
I thought the atmosphere at times, even though there weren't that many of us there, was actually quite good, Grant, on an our stand and an East stand.
Yeah. We got quite a noisy block as well, haven't we?
Yeah. So
generally, there's a lot. It used to be a few noisy people and spread out fairly randomly throughout the ground. Okay, just so happens the block on the halfway line on the right hand side as you're looking at it from on the camera view is quite a noisy little block there. And great atmosphere just in there. Anyway,
we couldn't quite persuade the linesman to get his flag up for offside, though, could we? There we are. We won't go into that.
Yeah.
But anyway, remember, if you're enjoying the podcast, please give us a like, or better still, please subscribe. Okay, moving forward, Grant, can you tell us about some results from Australia? These results coming probably more towards the end of the season for a lot of clubs.
Yes.
Anyway, over to you, sir.
Yeah. National League 1 West. Philly 55, Penclough 7. Not a great season for Penclough this year. National League 1 West Central, Builth Wells 29, Bridgend Athletic 27. Bridgend Athletic could still overtake Swansea Uplands and end up top of that league. Biggest win of the weekend is it's not the biggest win of the weekend, it's the biggest derby of the weekend. Skewin 54, Birch Grove 36. Big scoring game up at Tennant Park there.
Hell of a game.
National League 2 West Central, Brenhaman 22, Mumbles 15. Maesteg Celtic 14, Aberravon Quins 66. Big away win that is. Hale Q 42, Abercrave 30. Hale Q will finish top of League 2 West Central. Moving on to League 3, West Central, Neath Athletic 66, Bridgend Sports 12, Neath Athletic unbeaten this season. Torna 36, Nantum Oil 20. National League 4, West Central, Seven Sisters 76, Gleis 22. That is the biggest win of the weekend, 54-point difference there. Britain Ferry 39, Pontardawe 19. Moving on to National League 5, West Central, Penlan 45, Taibach 6. National Champions West, Dunvan 59, Maesteg Quins 19. So again, Quins have had a really bad season this year of them. Gleneath 22, Gosainen 24. I think that's the only other away win this weekend. Kenfig Hill 24, Ammanford 23. Just a point difference there, a bit of a cracker. Llanelli Wanderers 40, Ystalyfera 18. Never mind. Tondi 37, Gowden 19. Trebanos 45, Crymych 14. Moving on to the Premiership, Merthyr 59, Bonamine 31. Bonnie down in 12th in the league. They've had 5 wins this season. Nearer the other end of the Premiership, Neath 29, Narberth 21. And finally, into the Super Rugby Cymru League, Aberafon winning against Pontypool at home, 26-24. Carmarthen Quins 32, Bridgend Ravens 24. And the last result and the last game of rugby to be played on grass in St Helens, Swansea 43, RGC 28. So, yes, again, it shows the home advantage. 22 games, 20 home wins.
Wow. I'll have to decide who to support because I'll be spending a lot of time right on the border between Birchgrove and Skewing. So I'll have to decide which of the two will become my team. I'll have if anyone's write a comment to persuade me either way, literally I'll be spending time literally on the border between the two. So we'll see who I root for next year. Okay, going on then to Saturday. We are home to Cardiff. If nothing else, it will help our average attendance over the year. Because we are the home team. I don't think the ticket sales are quite as at the level they have been in the past. I've heard they're not actually opening the top tier, so I guess the attendance, if they sold all the other seats in the other twos, it would be around 30,000 at best. But I'm sure those who do go will have a really good day. You've got 2 games of rugby for a very good value, really financially. So what are your hopes? What are your expectations? And do you have any fears about facing Cardiff on Saturday?
You've got hopes, expectations, and plenty of fears. Yeah, you got to hope there's a bit of a return of form. And last weekend was a hiccup, and we picked things back up. Cardiff see us as one of the bogey sides, and long may it continue.
Yeah.
But Cardiff are a wounded animal right now, and I don't quite know how the players are feeling over all of this, or if the general don't want Cardiff are looked after is rippling through to the way the squad's working. I don't know, but we really need to be up for this. This is make or break for us now, this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this is it really, isn't it? This is the win it and have a push for the playoffs and the top 8, or don't win it and that's the season probably done. Cardiff come in after 2 weeks off. A lot of I wouldn't say negative press. I wouldn't want to put it like that, but I'm struggling for the word, so I will say negative press, which means they could come up riding, showing that on the pitch everything's fine and they're still there and so on, like reach an emotional peak, which is always the worry. But you think that we should just have enough to push through. I know we got the injuries in the second row, but our second row is good anyway. Even James Fender and Ratty might be back. I'm not sure if he is or not for that, but so even missing Rhys Davis and Adam Beard should be fine. Got a lot of depth there. And to be fair, it's an opportunity for the Ospreys as well to right the wrongs of the following weekend. So you think dusting yourselves off and having a good run at the league now and ending the season on a high, it's also an opportunity. So I'm fairly confident. I'm worried that Cardiff might play beyond themselves. And if they do, then that could be a problem. But if form books to go by and the way the teams are playing to go by, should be more than enough for the Ospreys to win, I would say. So yeah.
You both mentioned that you felt there was a little bit of tiredness about our performance. Would you foresee within constraints of injuries some changes then, potential changes to the starting 15 on top of injuries?
But this is make or break, isn't it? You know, we got some tough games in South Africa, okay, and okay, if you're going to rotate, okay, I'd like to think that we need to treat the next two games as sort of season defining now.
Yeah.
So we've got to get the balance right. Okay, if you want to make the odd change, you need to make the odd change, but you can't make wholesale changes and then go into what should be a home game. Call it a home game, yeah, in Cardiff against Cardiff. So we got to be. I'd like to think that Mark knows what he's doing in terms of balance, and he's going to get the balance right in terms of a little bit of freshness. We've got options in the back row. Second rows have forced on us, so the rest of the first team are almost picking themselves. At least you've got a good choice now between Kieran Hardy and Ruben Morgan-Williams as well. Now at 9, if they both fit, that helps, I think, as well.
Yeah. Jack?
Yeah, I think maybe keep it the same or as close as possible. You're already changing probably Tipperick and the two second rows, then which are forced. I don't think you'd want to make too many changes after that. And then going into the Dragons, maybe looking at that and thinking, well, that's when we can make the changes. And I think that might be a better way of looking at it, and then trying to rest some people ready for the trips over to South Africa, because this one's probably the one that you'd be more worried about right now. I've said that, and I'm going to regret it, aren't I? But
well, we've seen the Black Cat, so I'm feeling far more confident now.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think that if you make in those changes that are forced by injury, you can probably keep it the same. Maybe put an Owen Williams in at fly half. Maybe,
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know what, obviously I don't quite know why Sam Parry pulled out off the bench for the Scarlets game. So obviously, he would make a difference even if he didn't start. If not, McGuigan's fine, don't get me wrong, but if you wanted to give perhaps Derry, I'd have confidence in Sam coming in if instead of Derry. But otherwise, I'd try and get Derry to go again. And for me, we've got to win these two games now against the Welsh opposition. Sharks look as if they've started to put together their full squad together, so that might be a difficult game where maybe you could rotate there and then all or nothing perhaps in the last game against the Lions, which we definitely know we can beat. Yeah. So I would be anybody who can walk and is not completely knackered. I would be looking to play them personally, and maybe a couple of changes just to freshen things up. But I think we're all in agreement. This is a must-win game for us. Okay, so putting your money where your mouth is, gentlemen. What do you think we're going to do? What's just your who's going to win and by how much, please? Grant, do you want to go first?
Oh, thanks. I'm not confident, and I think that's a great place to start because things can only get better from there. So Ospreys by 1 again.
Okay. Jack?
I think we're going to have too much up front for them. We're going to squeeze it, and I reckon we beat them by about 14 points.
Oh, well.
I'm going 14.
Yeah.
I mean, because, basing it on the idea that they're going to turn up and play beyond themselves because of the emotion in the last 2 weeks, but 14.
Okay, good, great. Well, when you think we held them for so long in cap with 14 men against 15, and we still in the end should have won that game, and we weren't playing fantastically well at that time. So I'm like Grant, I think it could go either way. I think it's a tough one to call, but I'm never going to bet against this. So I'm going to go Ospreys by 3. Okay, well, I think that's everything we need to discuss this evening. Unless you gentlemen have got anything else you want to raise?
No, nothing from me.
No. Okay, well, thank you very, very much for listening again. Good luck to the boys who've been involved from the Ospreys, the under-18s down in southern France, in Vichy. Some very good performance, very promising performances there from Richie Reese's team. And just a little plug, if you want to listen to the interview that we did through I did the interview with Richie. It is available still. One of us is impressive. So Richie's a spot-on guy, really good Osprey player, and is really taken to coaching really well. And I've been very impressed with the work he's doing there, and that all goes well for the future for Welsh rugby. So thank you very much. Let's hope next week we'll be back to normal and a podcast celebrating another Osprey win. So thank you very much. Good night, gents.
Good night.
Well done.
Was the Ospreys Diary. Please rate, review and share on socials if you can, and join us next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.